Okay. Hi, everybody. Harjit, Meenakshi, Prasanna, thank you so much for joining the webinar today. It's a pleasure to host all of you, and I am extremely excited to have this conversation with you. For you are an astounding and a fantastic, group of panelists coming from various and diverse backgrounds. And I think in the world that we are living in right now, I think it's so critical for leaders to have a dialogue, for us to one learn from each other, and two kind of give our give our viewers and audience a perspective of how talent strategies are evolving in the hybrid world. So welcome all of you. Before I take we start a deep dive into the conversations. I wanted to first take the time to introduce each one of you. I'm sure Dipendra will join us in some time. I'm Deval Singh. I am the business head of telecom and technology at TeamLease, and like I said, it's a pleasure to have all of you in this call, and I look forward to having the conversations with you. I also have Harjeet Khanduja. He's currently working as Senior Vice President at Reliance Jio. He's an international speaker, author, poet, visionary HR leader, an inventor, an influencer. He comes with around 25 years of experience, and it's in the plethora of experience is tremendous. I think Harjeet, in his own way, has touched upon every industry possible, whether it's pharma, IT, ITES, telecom, digital. And he's written a book called Nothing About Business, which is Amazon's top seller. So Harjeet, welcome, and it's a pleasure to speak to you today. Thank you so much for coming in. I have Meenakshi, who's currently Director People Practice at Happiest Minds Technology. She has around 20 years of experience. Always a pleasure to talk, with a woman in tech, with tech doing what it's doing and the way it's evolving and how it's playing a critical role in the world that we are living in, Meenakshi. I'm glad that you're a part of this panel. She has a plethora of experience. She's a legal professional with an outstanding understanding of legal and compliance process, which is very, very critical. Owning to the fact that we are exploring so many hybrid business models. And she's worked with Mindtree, she's worked with Astaysoft. So Meenakshi, once again, pleasure to have you here. And then, of course, I have Prasanna Patil. He comes with around 20 years of experience. I think his background is very, very varied, and he comes from new media per se. He has around 13 years as VP and head telecom biz in Shimaro Entertainment. He has rich experience in new media and technology business with spectrum across telecom and online internet. And with online content picking up so much pace and so making so much noise, I think it is just absolute pleasure to have you, Prasanna, and we would love to kind of get your views and your inputs on how you see this industry evolving when it comes to the hybrid strategies, or the talent strategies that we are using in this hybrid world that we live in. So that's the panel we are with, and let's start with Harjeet. Harjeet, my first very simple question, of course, to all of you, but we'll start with you, is what's your view on these trends that you're looking at, right? I mean, if I were to set some context around this, it's evident that in hybrid workforce and workplace models are here to stay, right? You have gig contract staffing, you have contract staffing on like the way TeamLease does, you have apprentices models, and of course you have perm staffing. So there are so many different models that companies and corporates are kind of adapting to in this new world of work. So with social distancing norm coming into play, with all the different layers that have come into play because we live in a COVID world, what are your views and opinions about these trends, and how do you believe they're going to impact corporates and businesses in the long run?
So I was very excited about buying an electric car. So I told my wife that I should buy an electric car. It is environment friendly and this is sustainable world we want to create. She told me, where is the ecosystem? Where will you charge it? You take it somewhere and it stops, then you're stuck. So then we decided, let's not go for electric car, let's go for hybrid. And that is what we are doing in HR also, or in organizations also. We want to be a digital organization, spread working from home, because there is no dependency on people, but we don't want to get stuck. There is a question mark in mind. Boss, if something happens, if there are risks, how we are going to mitigate those risks? And that fear inside is something which is asking us, acha, let's go hybrid. If you see the nature doesn't allow hybrid to grow. Hybrid is a temporary phase. Whenever you do hybrids, those are not promoted by nature. And look, during the COVID, what happened? Like suppose you are going to, so from Bombay you will go to Delhi, from Delhi you will go to say towards north by road, and then you will start going to Leh. So what happens is, when you are going from Mumbai to Leh through this route, acclimatization happens. You get used to the weather. In COVID world, what happened was, we always wanted to work in this kind of society. US has been working mostly in this kind of flexible working. And suddenly we were put from Bombay to Leh overnight. And when that happens, then you get all kind of cold cough, and then you say, no, Leh is not good. It is not the problem with Leh. It is suddenly you were put in Leh and you were not able to manage it. So you have created a perception, this is not good for us. So let's go back to where we were, or let's try to do hybrid. And that's where we are in terms of giving too much focus to hybrid. There are organizations who have been managing, say, the kind of gig force. If you look at, there are many organizations who have been focusing on gig workforce, and they have been managing that gig workforce, or I would say not gig workforce, remote workforce. So if you know how to manage remote workforce, if you know how to live in Leh, then it will be good for you. If you're experimenting and things are not working out for you, then you are thinking, acha, it is a trend, let's go hybrid. That's what my take is.
Great. Glad to hear a little bit of storytelling around how you view hybrid, and I hope you did get that car, by the way. All right. So moving on to Meenakshi, what is your take on these trends, Meenakshi, and the adoption of these trends, which has now been accelerated in the world that we live in due to COVID? Meenakshi, you're on mute. Sorry.
Yeah, with Harjeet having given us a beautiful example, now I have to get back to hybrid. So pardon me for some of those inputs that I would mention. What trends we've seen in the last 1.5 years has been a whole lot. And some of it, which I would like to mention, are flexibility, speed, accessibility, increased trust, and certain communication levels which have gone high. And that is what we have noticed in the recent past. And companies have gone digital, right? Digital space, and they've gotten a lot of platforms like Teams and Yammer to ensure that we do work in this collaborative world today. So when you talk about solutions, solutions are today increasingly at a faster pace, right? At the speed that we do business has actually really stepped up quite a high, in a high scale. Some business cycles have reduced because of this way of working right now. Looking at how the nation has been bounded by boundaries, today we see the geographical demarcation which has moved away, right? And today the boundary is not, if you're taking a person in for a job in Bangalore, Bangalore is the location that he or she has to be, right? It has moved beyond till where the internet boundary is or the accessibility of internet today, right? And we're talking about increased trust has begun, tolerance. When I say increased trust, earlier when we talked about work from home, it was like, okay, it's another half a day leave or something like that. But today, if you notice, all of us are here for at least 1.5 years, and the trust element has increased. The tolerance levels have increased, right? And we have sort of got into that kind of a working model where we are fine with certain distractions while at home, and because of which people have been able to give in their best of doing to the extent. Communications have gone very, very high right now, and we've seen leadership connects, mostly bringing in cascading effects of communication, which can go to the right low model. I mean, that is right down to the extent of even a first-time manager, right? The junior most level, the first-time manager also has to learn on how to deal with his or her team right now. And that's another thing that we've seen. Flexibility has seeped up quite a bit. When we say flexibility earlier, like when Harjeet was mentioning an example, I would also like to quote an example. Being in the hustle of the Hosur Road Junction, Silk Board has always been traffic jam places, and many a times at 9 o'clock meetings, you will get at least 5 calls stating I'm stuck in Silk Board. Right. So right now, none of us have to rush into being there at that point in time for that meeting, because you have to drive your car or a two-wheeler to being there physically present. Where we are today, the flexibility has seeped up. And that is talking about it in like in our company that we've always had a core office hour between 10 and 3. And we ideally set all our meetings during that period in time so that it makes people comfortable to work in during that period in time. We have actually tried to bring into that particular space so that people can get in. And we've seen a lot of results in our recent GPTW scores too based on that. So these are some of it out of the many that I'm sure Prasanna and Dependra will have a lot more to share.
Brilliant, Meenakshi. I love the points that you touched upon, from boundaries getting broken, from trust and tolerance, the way we view the concept of work from home, the accelerated pace with which the business is growing, and at the same time communication opening up at various levels that is really, really impacting, and that have become kind of the consequences of these trends. So brilliant. While I move to Prasanna, I would also, I'm glad Dipendra could finally join us. Hi, Dipendra. I'm glad you could be a part of this panel, and I'm sorry if there was a tech issue because of which you had to come a little late. Just for everybody, Dipendra, he's the Senior VP and Global Head HRD Infosys. He comes with around 20 years of fantastic experience, with 15 years in Infosys alone. He is an IIMB, and he heads the compensation and benefits and international HR at Infosys, and he led the HR efforts of Infosys BPO in 3 different global M&A programs, which led to organization to win the Optimus Award in 2012. And that was, I think, what is brilliant about it is because he was managing change, and then of course innovative compensation program. So I think there is so much Dipendra can get into this conversation, because he has seen this ever evolving change of business models, change of scenarios. So once again, Dipendra, I will get to you after Prasanna as you settle in, but welcome as a panelist to the TeamLease webinar. Yeah, I can see you nodding, so I guess you've heard me. All right, so we'll move to Prasanna. To refresh what we are talking about, Dipendra, while Prasanna answers, the question is around what are the new hybrid trends, HR trends that we are looking at into the new workforce, whether it is contract staffing, whether it is gig economy, whether it's apprentices model, or what are the new trends that each one of you, with your viewpoint, are looking at, and how do you believe they are going to impact businesses and corporates in the long run? So Prasanna, we move to you with some great examples coming from Harjeet and Meenakshi.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me on the panel. So particularly on the way Meenakshi rightly said, it's definitely a new phenomena for the entire ecosystem and the industry as well. The hybrid model, which, so I will not say this model was not exist in the ecosystem or industry. It was there. So people was not using that model very efficiently. If you see the IT industry or the technical industry, that industry, I've seen a lot of people used to work from their native places or work from home. So that actually on the technical side, definitely it gives that flexibility to work from home. But after this pandemic, overall that entire shift has happened. So initially, when we had that pandemic first wave in the 20 January or March 20, at that moment everybody were feeling that this is like short-term kind of change, and after a week or a month we'll go back to the home office and we'll start working from them. And but the situation got worsened, and the people then started realizing that there need to be some hybrid version, hybrid model in the ecosystem or industry to work along with this pandemic. And then this entire discussion and the implementation has started onto this industry. I personally believe that the last mile connectivity, the Meenakshi rightly said, the telecom operators or the broadband providers, Jio and the Airtel and Vodafone people have done extremely well job in this pandemic. They have given that last mile connectivity to the end user as well. It's not just metro, but the rural segment. So metro was always dominating on the internet connectivity and the usage of digital platforms. But if you see the migrants, just because of this pandemic, people have migrated to their native places, and they are now becoming a teacher to the local people, laptop and PCs and mobile phone and smartphone to do their different kind of works. So accordingly, the rural penetration has been increasing from last 1 year. So I've seen the initial skew was like 70-30% of the penetration in the overall internet user base. 70% was from metro and 30% from the rural market. Now that completely changed. So if you see 40-60 kind of ratio, you can see on the penetration on the internet consumption front. So that actually gives more power to the hybrid model in this ecosystem. I personally believe that this hybrid model will remain there. Definitely, as Harjeet rightly said, it's not about you're shifting from Bombay to Leh, and Leh weather is not good. It's about adapting yourself and accommodating yourself with this new ecosystem, new industry trends. And now that just because of the pandemic, in last 1.5 years, I've seen a lot of shift that happened in the consumer, the user mindset and the employees mindset and the employer mindset as well. In particularly in the media and entertainment industry, I've seen a lot of big setback just because on the movie production front, because production houses were shut, they were not allowed to shoot and everything. But in the flip side of that, I've seen huge offtake on the usage front. So people at home, they don't have much to work, so they started work, searching on the internet. They started watching a lot of PCs and smartphone using. Consumption has increased phenomenally on that particular platforms, and people are using those platforms more easily to do their work as well. So this work from home culture and this complete hybrid model is definitely going to be there in this industry, and that could be a big game changer for the employers and the employees as well. There are a lot of good benefits for both the employer and employees having this hybrid model. So I personally believe that this model will remain there, and everybody need to support this model to build. It will take some time, slowly, gradually it will evolve, but definitely this model will remain there for sure.
Sure, great. Thank you, Prasanna. So we'll move to you, Dipendra. Prasanna touched upon the last mile connectivity model where, the rural and the urban India is connecting well, which is creating a lot of opportunities, not only for employers, but for also employees. So what are the trends that you foresee, and how do you see them playing in the long run, Dipendra, when it comes to the talent strategies that we all seek for our organizations? Dipendra, you're on mute. Sorry. Yeah.
I missed the last part of your question because I think the signal suddenly went off. So could you please repeat your?
No, absolutely, absolutely. So, Dipender, what we are talking about is basically the different talent strategies that organizations are exploring, in this hybrid world, because it is a world of offline and online that we are playing with, right? Something that was traditionally not very famous, at least in India per se. So, how do you see these trends, with your point of view, and how do you see them evolving in business and organizations in the long run?
Let me also thank Harjeet for having given us a lot of last mile connectivity, and my other colleagues, Meenakshi and Prasanna, who are also there on the call. This pandemic has been a very difficult time, as all of us know that, but there are definitely a lot of silver linings which is there. So one of the, while a lot has been covered, I think there are 2 or 3 things that I just wanted to touch. One is that I am from the BPM industry, the ITS industry, which works at night. And one of the things about our industry is that it was not very friendly towards women, especially when they were on the family side. And there were a lot of people who used to drop out of our workforce. I think one good thing about this working from home is that we would have a lot more women included in our workforce, working at night from the safety of their homes, with their family sleeping besides them in different bedrooms, would give people a lot of chance to work at night. The second place where we see a very big difference is the fact that there are a lot of
Dipender, we lost you.
joining the workforce, which again means great for our country and of course for the industry. So I would say that one big change because of this pandemic and the work from home is inclusion of a larger talent pool, which is there. The second big change which I can see is the fact that you would find a lot of crowded roads in cities like Bangalore and Hyderabad and of course Gurgaon and other places. I think that some of the traffic will now shift to the smaller cities, and there would be more development there. The hinterland of India, the smaller.
We keep losing Dipender.
Gloomy situation, coming out of the pandemic.
Great. Dipender, we keep losing you in and out. So while we've heard some very, very interesting points from you, I completely agree with you, the larger pool of talent that we've been getting, especially women, who can work easily at night without having to worry about their family or their children. I think it's a fantastic thing that has happened during this, lack of better words, I shouldn't say during this pandemic, but it has been an accelerator. And of course, the fact that you see, I think this is something that Meenakshi touched upon too, that, less crowded roads and how people are getting to meetings on time. So yeah, absolutely. I think you guys have given me some great examples, and there are some great, really, really good examples that has come upon. So Harjeet, I think I would like to join the bandwagon and say thank you very much for the brilliant connectivity in rural and urban India, and the fact that your firm is one of the reasons that we can do a lot of things that we are doing across India. So telecom has played a brilliant role in ensuring that we are connected to each other and living in the world that we are living in. So that takes me to my second question, Harjeet. So with all the trends that we are looking at, I'm pretty sure that the way you hire must have also changed, right? The way because I think a couple of our guests touched upon the point, there are no boundaries anymore. You don't think like you do not need a person sitting in Mumbai for Mumbai, or you do not need a person sitting in Timbuktu for Timbuktu. Sorry, but it's an example. So how do you see hiring really changing for you? Two-part question. One is on hiring, and the other one is even if the people who've already hired, there is a change in skills, right? COVID has pushed upon the skill gap that we already had in India, and now I think it has become wider because with tech playing such an important role. How do you fill that gap for the people you've already hired? So it's a two-part question. Have your strategies changed when it comes to hiring talent? And two, how do you link the skill gap that you might see in your organization or any organization per se?
So, have you seen how Uber hires? Have you seen, do they have any recruiters? Means I wonder.
No,
So
absolutely not. It's all through apps. Yeah.
So moment you start thinking like an Uber, that, okay, if I have to hire, let me just put an app and whosoever wants to register can register, and whenever they want to work, they can work. That means if you have that platform, a simple platform, which allows you to register people and allows people, it gives some flexibility, which Meenakshi was talking about. I want to work at my time, so I will work at my time. And you know how it works. These are simple cultural factors. Earlier, we were simple people. We used to come to our home, our mother used to cook, or a spouse used to cook, and we used to eat. That is how India was. Then suddenly pizza came. So one is speed changed. We said, now I need everything in 30 minutes. And second is, now I need choices. That I need this topping, I need this cheese. And after that, YouTube came. In YouTube, now earlier we used to watch TV. 9 o'clock, कौन बनेगा करोड़पति? 9 बज गए क्या? And then suddenly, you changed our habits by giving us YouTube. You watch whenever you want to watch. Then Netflix came. Now I can watch whatever I want to watch at my time. This is a cultural shift in the society. Now, if society is working on this cultural change, do you think work can be separated out of it? Your work systems have to be such where all these people who are consuming pizza and watching Netflix, they would like to work on their hours, on their time, and they would need choices. So when somebody like Uber comes or Urban Clap comes, they say simple app, register, and after registering, you decide when you want to work. So that is the future of hiring. I was traveling in one Uber and I saw a driver was looking aged, must be around 70, 69, something. So I asked him, why are you driving Uber? So he said, look, my responsibilities did not retire with my retirement. I said, that's fine. And he said, you know how good these people are? They did not look at my age. They just looked at whether I can drive or not. And they gave me the job. This is how it is changing the employment scenario. Like what Dipender was also talking about. Now, if you see, when people don't see faces, they just look at deliverables. It doesn't matter whether a man is working or a woman is working, whether a disabled is working or whether a fully enabled person is working. Thing is, if you can deliver, come over. So the entire focus has shifted from what kind of person you are to what kind of skills you have. It is, this is like earlier we used to see bodies. Now we have started seeing souls. Because bodies are not in front of you, so you don't get judgmental. And that is one shift which has come. And that is the brilliance of remote working. That is where the future is going to be. For going to that future, some of us were struggling and we said, chalo hybrid karte hain. And that is where hybrid came from. And look, traditional hiring will continue for some time, but that is the direction in which things will move to.
Point taken. Brilliant. Once again, Harjeet. I do believe what you're saying is very, very true when it comes to the word of hiring, that traditional hiring is not going to run away per se, but what hybrid does is actually gives you better choices and more choices. So Meenakshi, it also touches upon something that you already said, when you were viewing trends, that there are no boundaries per se. So what is your opinion about, your hiring strategies per se, if they've become innovative? I love the way Harjeet touched upon the fact that there will be no recruiters. Why do you need a recruiter? There will be no boundaries of age, community, where do you come from, where are you sitting, nothing whatsoever. So how will this all affect your hiring cycle per se? And how do you bridge the skills gap that has come into play with this COVID world that we live in? Which, by the way, has been declared as an endemic, no more a pandemic. So it's here to stay.
Just like Harjeet said, more than driving people to getting actions done, it is today, seeing the outcome. That's basically what we are stepping into. And as I said today, the geographical boundaries are, opened up so well that if you want somebody to work in Bangalore, you can pick him up from Kashmir or any other part of the country. And if they have the right skills to work, I mean, if you're looking at a particular technology or a certain area of work, pick that person up from the geography, I mean, the area that he comes in from, and if he can deliver, that is what we are tending into, right? And again, as Deepender mentioned about the gender diversity, it has been a very big leap towards women who had to resign and leave, right? Because of marriage and relocation, or a childbirth and take care of the child. Today, I have noticed most women after 6 months of maternity leave have come back to work. Whereas before they would take 3 months additionally, they will take another 3 months, because it is not going to be easy. I'm not saying it is going to be easy today. I mean, hats off to all the parents who have little children today dealing with work from home. It's not an easy aspect. I really have seen that with my team members who do struggle through that. But definitely this has given a very big opening for women to get back to work. One is that. And when we talk about selling, and as Harjeet said, yes, it'll be fantastic when we get into app-based registrations. In our company, we do not have a retirement age. I am sure some of you all know the reasons. We have Ashok Soota at his age who's here at the company, and the company does not have a retirement. So we do have people who've crossed the age of 60 or 58, whatever is. I think that continues, and that's been a good aspect, because people come in to work on the area that they want to. Today, selling a job has to be very impactful and to get the right person, rather than looking at the selling impacts of the past. Before, a recruiter would sell based on a location or a facility or the way the offices were and things like that. Today, and this is an opinion that I feel that people can sell companies, the brand of the company, right? They have to sell the brand based on looking at what are the differentiators that they have in an organization. How do they enable competitive benefits across the organization? Because today people are in high demand and they require high responsiveness. So cycle time of recruitment has changed. It used to be like 3 rounds, and then each round, and a person coming and joining will take 2-3 months time. Of course, even now because of notice period, it would. But the interview period itself today has come down, shortened. So these impactful way of selling also does, because people today have a big choice, as Harjeet mentioned. The choice is so wide and vast, and so we have to be tuned into getting in, or render those choices for people to choose and accept to take up that position. So these are few things that I feel that we should look at as an impact of talent acquisition to make a difference during this period in time.
That's great. I think I see where you're coming from, Meenakshi. Absolutely correctly said. Prasanna, would your views air similar to that of Harjeet and Meenakshi's when it comes to the talent acquisition strategies that companies are using, especially in the industry that you're sitting in? Are they evolving? Is there something different that is happening which will help you kind of bridge the skills gap that might be coming into play?
Yeah, definitely. They will. I've seen a lot of changes happening or evolution is happening in the recruitment front as well. So the good shift in this entire pandemic or this complete last 1.5 year is that initially, whenever recruiters or the HR personals used to recruit talent who is ready to relocate to the local offices. If you have office in Delhi or in Mumbai, so basically you will look search out for the candidate who can work to come to the office place to work and do their work. So in that entire screening process, I've seen a lot of good talent got drained out or those just because of the relocation issues and all those stuff. So this entire hybrid model and the pandemic have given us that flexibility to the HR as well and the employees as well to work from home wherever they are. So if that talent is residing in Dehradun or something, still we can hire that talent and he can contribute to us. It's not like every time he'll have to come Bombay to do, but definitely he can come and contribute to it. But most of the time he can work from the local place and contribute to this thing. So that's one very positive thing which I've seen in overall shift in the recruitment process as well in our company, particularly in the other companies as well. So the talent pool which were available at the local destinations are now getting good opportunities to work with the bigger corporates and the larger offices in the metros. So that one shift I've seen, and that definitely is going to evolve further in coming time. Overall, from the this work from home phenomena or the hybrid model, so I'm seeing a lot of employees, they are basically going back to their native places, right? Because they can operate from home as well, so they are going back to the native places. So eventually, actually, they're saving their overall cost and etc., which actually they're incurring while staying at the metro places and all those stuff. So they're saving that cost. Eventually, the offices as well. So operating like, see, we are operating with 700 plus employees in Bombay office. We have three different buildings. So operating admin costs, infrastructure, internet bandwidth and all those stuff. Actually, that's huge cost when employees are operating from home. So eventually employer is also benefiting some of the getting benefits of some of the situations as well. So I've seen that 25 to 30% benefits employees are incurring just because of this entire situation, and similarly some kind of benefits employees also getting out of it. So it's win-win kind of situation for both employees and employer as well. But there is big mind shift has happened in the HR and the recruitment process. That is for sure, just because of this entire thing. So I do agree with Meenakshi on that.
Great. Dipendra, next to you, I think you've already touched upon a very nuanced, critical recruitment, point that, women hiring has grown, and which, by the way, I don't think there is an overall bump, but I do believe that tech has been hiring a lot of women, and that number keeps to be going up year on year. And I do believe it's a strategic, kind of a thing that tech would want to keep doing, and which is brilliant. So that is fantastic. But what other recruitment, tactics or different ways of acquiring talent do you see around you that is making you say that, yes, we are moving into a new world or a new arena?
Yeah, so, Devil, I could be fading in and out because of, network connectivity issues, but let me also touch upon a few things there, and I want to be brief on that. See, first is that as Meenakshi would be also, experiencing, the hunters are getting hunted. So all of us who are sitting on the recruitment side trying to hire are also facing a lot of our employees getting, hunted by our competition and from, other parts of the industry. what it requires earlier was people to travel to a city or some large metro to get a job. Now it's just a matter of a couple of flicks of the screen, and then you could be giving an interview for Happiest Mind or for Infosys, and all that happens all within the switchover happens all within 5 minutes. So I think that's one big issue which is facing all of us. The second part, and the newspapers are replete with how the tech talent war is hotting up. It's also thanks to our the unicorns which are coming in the market in a big way, and whether it's Zomato, and there are Paytms, and so many of these coming in. So there is definitely going to be a talent shortage, but it is morphed by the fact that it is talent mobility is much easier. So we are in for a tough time. As a country, as an industry, we are in for a tough time, because ultimately the clients who are sitting in US and UK and other parts of the world are not going to be forgiving about this talent shortage that each of us are feeding on. I think the main way to handle that is to ensure that we invest more in training, in capability development of our people, include more people in the workforce, and ensure that they have the right kind of skills which are built up. And I'm sure that we are also going to be touching on the skills in the subsequent questions that you will have. But I think that's really the way that how do you ensure that you handle this talent shortage which is facing all of us. And I'm sure that all of my co-panelists must be exactly in the same state that we are in currently at Infosys.
Brilliant. I love the way you said, the hunters are getting hunted. I think it is quite, I'm pretty sure that you've touched upon the right chords here, because I personally also, I do see a lot of attrition happening, which in a way is a good sign, but for leaders sitting in positions, it's like, oh my goodness, like, how do you fill that up? And yes, absolutely. The unicorn war in India it's talk of the town, with the way Zomato is IPO'd, and the way we have a plethora of these startups that are very soon going to get IPO'd, and it's creating mad buzz in the world, and which is a very good a sign of a thriving country. So that takes me to the next question, Meenakshi. I think, again, I like the way Dipendra kind of insisted on the fact that the way to bridge this is training. And tech is at war. I mean it in a very good way. That, you have to keep skilling your people, upskilling your people, reskilling your people. So is there a shift or a change in which, your R&D is thinking about investing in training to bridge the talent skills that might be missing in the talent that is right now in the organization or company?
Yeah, today, if we look at the technology has played a very significant role in the space of L&D, right? All of us were so used to the classroom trainings. Very rarely you have these certification courses which were there online, and it was there in the past, but unlike today, all of them have switched to that particular mode. And the physical presence of training has almost gone away, especially in IT industries, because I think 90% of the IT companies are working from home. So because of that, learning as such, because of this kind of mode and people being in the lockdown state, many of them are tied up at home and also have realized that this is the time to learn, because there's a lot of time for themselves also. They do talk about, being stressed out with work, but that is a lot of work is happening on the system because they're either working or they're learning for themselves. And the companies have brought out a lot of programs. Today, a lot of training is available online. Many companies have invested in LMS programs and platforms like Udemy, LinkedIn, and many others to for people to gotten larger licenses for people to look at. Skill building and upskilling, cross-skilling is on the high. Team members have also realized that this is the time that they can learn and try and switch into different areas, because now it is all available, right? They can be sitting out there, and gig working is also there in certain companies. So probably that is another aspect that we can look at, like we've not had so much in the past. Just to mention about training delivery, just like how we were talking about the talent acquisition, there is also a bit of the team members who want to learn, yes, definitely put their best foot forward, learn to the maximum. But the training delivery today is a little bit of a challenge now, if it is going to be a classroom which is being conducted right now. Because the trainer has to ensure that it has to be more powerful and it has to be more engaging, and because there are a lot of distractions while watching on TV. I have seen my little nephews and nieces in their classrooms. They're not, forced to being coming on video. So slowly it switches on to YouTube or they're playing some games. So I'm sure it is a tendency, because today, if you look at it, in any meeting, if there are 20 people in one room sitting together, you are there present in whatever it is. And there's a whole lot of body language and things. Today, how many are also multi-skilling? I mean, tasking along with listening into meetings. So similarly, when I'm saying this, training, there is a little bit of challenge in those. Trainers have to be a bit more, they have to check on, how to engage people. Attention span is short. So modules have to change based on those areas, how training to be imparted. Before those body language and the cues that you get, how to divert your conversation to leading into the next question, or those have changed today. And some more focus on that has to be done, while a lot of others have improved, steadily. And people in other areas and countries and Harvards and all of them today come into your homes virtually, and you can listen now to them. So that is what I wanted to sum up a little on the learning space today and in IT industry.
Brilliant. Once again, great insights on LMS. Harjeet, what would your opinion be on the different LMS platforms, the investments that are increasing when it comes to learning in organization? Could you touch upon and maybe give us some views on how you see this playing out in the long run?
Frankly speaking, just by putting a LMS platform, if you think learning will happen, it doesn't happen that way. You have seen 102 Not Out. So watch that
Not
movie.
yet. Okay.
So in that movie, what happens is there is a 102-year-old father who threatens his son, who is 65 years old, that I will put you in a vradhashram if you don't change the way you live. And that person starts changing the way he lives. It is how you create the need. If you see, during the pandemic, the subscription of LinkedIn Learning, the subscription of Coursera went multiple times. Why it went multiple times? It is not that organizations wanted their people to learn, because people were feeling insecure. They wanted to enhance their skill set, that if something happens, I should be ready for that. And that is why people were learning. Look, what organizations want their people to learn and what people want to learn. These are slightly different. Organizations want people to learn in organization context, certain skill sets which are important for the organization. People want to learn those things which are good for their career, which will fetch them, say, a better career, better money, or better growth. So if there is some kind of in a vein curve, there is a intersection. Those areas are good areas where people start learning. Strategy wise, what you should do is you should try to create a learning environment. Moment you create a learning environment and you provide LMS platform as a platform where everything is available, you can go and learn. So putting LMS platform and creating a need, both are important. Just by putting a platform, if you think something will happen, chances are it will be a waste or it will be a dumb investment. So when you are investing in platform, in fact, buy licenses of Coursera and LinkedIn Learning, or tell people, you learn this skill set, I will pay you for this skill set, and create a need. So I would see it that way, which is slightly different from how people see it.
I will make sure to watch the movie, Harjeet. But again, one more great way to kind of portray the fact that what do people want to learn and what organizations want people to learn, there is a disconnect, and let's motivate and kind of give them an encouragement or some kind of a incentive to kind of get the skills that the organizations are looking at. That takes me to Dipender. Dipender, what is your view about learning and how learning should evolve in organizations, and in what tactics can people use to ensure that the skills gap is bridged?
So I think all my co-panelists have talked about the fact that there needs to be a very strong what's in it for me for learning. The age-old question which L&D has been faced with always is that how do you take people to the fountain? You can put them in front of the fountain, but how do you make them drink the water and therefore imbibe the skills? So I think that question is coming to everybody all again. And the important part is that how do you make learning in such a way that the people absorb the learning, but there are downstream positive consequences to learning. And I think if we are able to, as HR professionals, if we are able to link each of these things to careers, if we are able to link learning to, let's say, careers, or to a higher skill allowance, or to something which helps in an on-site career outside India, are some of the positive consequences, or leads to a promotion, then we have a great reason there for people to undertake learning courses which are relevant. So the whole ecosystem is now called into question, and I think as HR professionals we have.
I think we lost Dipender again. All right. So I'll wait to hear back from him. In the meanwhile, I'm going to take 4 more minutes from you because there are a couple of questions that have come and I would want you to give your opinion. Dipender, we lost you in the last 1 minute, but we completely got the point that you were getting onto when it comes to learning. But Dipender, before I lose you again, there is one question because I'm going to take 4 extra minutes from all of you. My apologies because we started a little late. So I hope you have 4 to 5 minutes to spare because there are some questions that have popped on the board and I believe that the audience wants to hear from you. So Dipender, one of the questions that has come is, how are we managing employee expectation? Most of them are in a comfort zone right now and they're not ready to move to their hub locations. But India has started. It's revived. People need to go back to office. How do you get that done and manage those expectations?
So that's a very tough challenge for all of us, because it's not very easy to take people back to the metros. Realistically speaking, we are still at least 6 months or 1 year away from a stabilized situation on the COVID side. We're already talking about the third wave. So I think it would be foolhardy to push people to come to the office quickly, at least from that IT and ITES point of view. One will need to, there is an ecosystem which is there in cities, which has, let's say, the paying guest or the transport system. And a lot of these systems have actually got kind of dilapidated in the last 1.5 years. A lot of these things have to come back. I think that the only option which is there for all of us is to, keep our processes ready for a, hybrid workforce where some people come to the offices, some people, work from home permanently, and
we lost him again. Okay. So though I can see Harjeet, you responded to the question there. Do you want to touch upon a little bit more on what you were talking about through hyperlocal work?
Yeah.
Dipender, we lost you for the last 30 seconds, but we got what you were saying. I'm moving on to Harjeet, who will also touch upon that question a little bit.
So Mahesh, as I said, there are 2 kinds of work: remote work and hyperlocal work. Remote work, which just now Dipender was talking about. Point is, if somebody is working remotely, why you want to bring that person to office? And the thing which you are talking about is, if there is a automation organization or a legacy manufacturing organization, in those cases, I believe there is a permanent workforce, and then you get those Matadi laborers which come on a daily basis and you take some of those guys in. That is a crude way of doing the gig economy without any app or something, where people come and you say, acha, 4 people come in. In the app-based environment, like the way Uber does or Zomato does, or so in those kind of organizations, it is tech-based. So it looks hi-fi, but it is the same thing. So understand, a doctor who advises can work remotely and should be working remotely. A surgeon who has to perform surgery, that person cannot perform surgery remotely. So the person has to be there in the hospital. So there are certain jobs where you have to be there, but for booking the appointment of that surgeon in that particular hospital, you can use technology, and that would be a wise thing to do.
Brilliant. So I think the last question to all of you, and I would request you to be brief, but it's a very critical question and the question that almost everybody wants to hear an answer for. I'll start with Prasanna, and then with Meenakshi, and then Harjeet, and then Dipendra. Prasanna, when do you see jobs going back to the pre-COVID level, or maybe even booming better than the pre-COVID level? Do you think there is a timeline, or do you think we are now in that space where jobs and hiring will grow across India and across organizations?
Yeah, so they will definitely. So it will take some time to reach to that level, pre-COVID level. But definitely after the vaccination round and everything is happening, so people are a little bit, free, and there are less restriction from the government as well. So it will go back, but it will take time. Meantime, we'll have to work around this hybrid model, as Harpreet rightly said. If the surgeon, he has to go to perform the surgery, but if the people who can use the technology and they can operate from home, they should. Google have started rather this thing in the month of May. They have started 60-20-20 kind of, wherein actually 60% staff is actually going to office twice or thrice a week kind of, and the 20% people are actually working from different locations, and 20% are working from home itself. So the people who are actually genuinely required, so they can go to office, and some sort of team building kind of activity. For that actually we need employees, we can ask them to come, but that level of that work, hybrid work arrangement, we need to implement in the ecosystem. We should not 100% rely on to go back to the pre-pandemic kind of environment, when actually that environment will be there. So we'll have to work with this kind of situation, and that the core of this going forward. At least 2-3 years we need to adjust with this kind of situation with the hybrid model. It's win-win for both the employer and employee as well. So we need to put people first. Actually, in our company, actually we have our evening trade, that's basically people keeping people first. So just see what their needs, requirements, because during this pandemic, actually a lot of mental churn had happened at the employee level. So the people are not willing to accept those jobs wherein actually they are not getting that flexibility. So flexibility is a big factor actually coming up in the entire ecosystem. They wanted to work from home office and all those stuff. So we need to nurture this culture, the entire this thing, rather thinking that going back to the pre-pandemic kind of situation. We'll have to work around this, and I believe that it will take time, but definitely meantime we'll have to adopt this situation and work around the situation itself.
Of course. Meenakshi, do you think there is a timeline for us to go back to the boom in the hiring to pre-COVID world or pre-COVID times, or do you think we are going to do even better?
The timeline was set many a times the last year, and we had to keep moving it because of the way the pandemic, surfaced and the waves that it came in through. Like the similar way as to how many companies, have gone through the difficult times to adapt to the work from home, and because our homes were not designed to doing this work from home culture, and soon after we settled into doing that because of the support of the companies and also the home front, we adopted to the new ecosystem, right? When the new ecosystem is where the office team members and the family members are also being supportive in doing certain of this. And there are, a lot of comforts that we talked of from the beginning of this session today about, being in different locations, choosing or upskilling, getting in all of those facility and a larger choice for an employee. Considering all of that, there are good chances that work from home would stay longer. But I wouldn't say 100% would be achieved in a timeline. Definitely impossible for any one of us to talk. But just like what Harjeet mentioned, it definitely is an important aspect that all of the roles or the jobs that we do are not it's not possible to work from home. Example, in our own industries, like the IT services team, the one who supports systems, so the hardware team, or there are companies, the pharma companies, which are lab dependent, or like when we talked about, they have to, at some point in time, be there because they're all supportive. I mean, the work starts from, being there because of the system that it is required, things like that. So there is a chance of moving into hybrid working, which has to come in. As the struggle took into moving into homes, getting back is not going to be an easier task. But at the same time, we also would like to mention out, like when we talked about people focus, yes, most of our kind of IT services company are more people focused, people centric. And for us, we believe that to inculcate and spread of the values of the organization is a very important thing, which ideally does not happen while sitting at home. It does, we try our maximum, but definitely it is watching people and tending towards behavioral aspects to moving and tending, which creates a culture in the organization. Hence, also by continuing this, we have also seen a little bit of downside of work from home. While it is very positive for a person to choose being at home as an employee, for an employer, I mean, look at the relationship building within team members. It's becoming a little, it's missing a little, right? Attachment to the company was also, because the new joinees who come today, yes, onboarding, we strive to doing the best in this virtual world, but then it's not like having been physically present, right? And it's a lot of things has become very transactional. So probably unless and until we move into a hybrid model of some percentages slowly, which can be thought of while as focusing on people's health, safety, and all of that, we should look at how we need to work that through, but definitely not a timeline, but to go ahead.
Yep. No, absolutely. I do believe that the question I asked was a little wicked in nature. So, Harjeet, I'm sure you have a story around this too, but would love to know that do you think we are in the growth phase finally, or do you believe that Delhi abhi thoda dur hai?
Look, when World War II happened, it took 2 years for humanity to recover. And after 2 years, it was the same, at the same level where they started from. When 2001 mishap happened, 9/11 happened, within 2 years, airline industry was back on its feet, doing the same amount of business. When demonetization happened, it took 2 years to come to the same level of business. When Maggie crisis happened, it took them exactly 2 years to come to the same level of revenue. So it is a history that any kind of shock which happens, it takes 2 years. Humanity has been very efficient that within 2 years they bounce back. So my prediction since long has been that in March 2022, we will be at the same level where we started from, and we will be growing from there. However, one caution, look, when Maggie crisis happened, when Maggie came back, it was not in the same shape and form. It was having a huge pie, market had already grown, but there were different flavors available. So jobs will have different flavors, and be ready to accept those flavors. Then you will find it better I see a bright future, and I believe right now also, if you look at the kind of jobs which are available in the market and the kind of attrition everyone was talking about at the beginning of the call, attrition happens when there are jobs. So that means we are already into growth phase.
Absolutely, very well put. And to a certain extent, I appreciate the hope timeline, Harjeet, that has come from you, because rarely I get a timeline whatsoever, because it's just generally leaders come back saying it's unmodelable. Sure, I think I've learned so much from all of you. I think I should give you some time back. I've already taken 15 minutes extra from you. But I would thank you for the patience. Thank you for coming and joining this webinar. I truly appreciate having this conversation from you. And there is such brilliant things that I've learned from all of you, and listening to you all interacting with each other. And without taking further of your time, I would like to once again say thank you. And I will individually be connecting with you. And we host a lot of webinars on and off, and I will keep inviting you to just pick on your brain and kind of learn from you as to how and what do you see and how do you see talent strategies evolving in the hybrid world.